Welcome to the Intersection Podcast. I am your host, Michael Denick, your Vice President of Marketing here at Miovision. And we are delighted to have in our offices in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, one of our great partners from Amazon and AWS, Jordan, representing the team. Yeah. Welcome, Jordan, to the Intersection Podcast.
Yeah, this is awesome. What a great building. What a great opportunity for us to be up here in Ontario with you in Kitchener. This is exciting. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, so before we get started, I have to ask you, what was the one thing you were looking most forward to in coming to Ontario this trip, outside of coming and seeing us? I know there's a particular retailer we talked about, right?
Yeah,
what is it?
Yeah, coming, obviously seeing you, number one reason, that's great. So in my former life, I actually covered Canada, and I came up here quite often, actually. And I found an affinity for a store that you have here called Bulk Barn. And Bulk Barn, if you don't know, you can buy, you guys know, yes. You can buy everything you want in bulk. Protein, peanut butter, but I have a sweet tooth. And there's some candy that I love that the Bulk Barn is the only place that I've ever found that offers it.
Right.
And so it's been about 5 years since I've been to Canada. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go back. And I said, hey, to the guys I came with, we have to go to Bulk Barn. That's like on my list. And I was like preparing myself, and it's this grapefruit sour candy from the great Canadian candy company, Allen. Yeah. And they discontinued it.
Right.
It's gone. So Allen, what are you doing? Like, why is the grapefruit?
Welcome. So I don't know what our viewership is. Yeah. I'm sure it's in the hundreds.
Yes.
So a shout out to Bulk Barn.
Yes,
number one.
I do love Bulk Barn.
Do better on the candy discontinuation.
I'm so sad.
And Allen's candy, actually, there was an Allen candy factory, to my understanding, I think here in Kitchener at one time too. So maybe we'll get that next time you come, my promise. Yeah. Most people put on the list like Niagara Falls, CN Tower.
Yeah, done it.
And then after that, it starts to get a bit dicey, like what you're coming here for, outside of business, of course. But first time I've ever heard any of my...
Yeah, when I went through customs, I specifically said, I'm here for the candy. And so then they let me in anyway.
Okay, so you have a couple more minutes and hours left on this trip. We'll try to look it out for some candy before you head back.
There you go.
So welcome again to the office, Miovision. I think, as noted, our relationship goes back right to our beginning of time. We also have Matt Fisher, our Vice President of Operations. So Fish, tell us a little bit about the partnership, AWS, and what it means to having this group here, hosting, kind of celebrating, ideating, strategizing, lots of different things happening with the group here from AWS.
It's great to have you here. I think Curtis tells a great story about AWS when the company started. You actually had to fill out a form and you had to call in. If you can believe this, with AWS, there wasn't even a web portal. Yeah. So you actually called into AWS. They would actually provision you an EC2 instance over the phone, and that would take sometimes 2-3 days. So we go back to the early days of call in to AWS, and we've been partners ever since. And I think it's really exciting to have you out here today and show you some of our technology. We did a walk through the manufacturing space, and you got to see our new core device firsthand. What did you think of, seeing what we talk about, in the field, seeing the team put those together? What was that like for you?
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for me to kind of really understand what Miovision is doing. And like you mentioned before, the relationship with AWS, it runs deep. You guys have been customers of ours and working with us for, really since the inception of Miovision. And so seeing actually how your product, where it sits in the cabinet and how it works and how you are, and just hearing from you firsthand about the acquisitions that you're making that are positioning you in the market that makes you, a major player in traffic and what you can do and where we can help support. So what a great opportunity and for me to be here to see this kind of in the flesh.
And I think, we have an opportunity to work with lots of partners, and I think AWS is special in that people would think of AWS as the compute we use, AWS compute environment, but really maybe talk about the breadth of AWS. And I think that's why we really enjoy sessions like today. It's not just about our compute environment. There's a whole host of things that you can bring to the table from an AWS partnership that really can foster the Miovision business and help us move things further at a bit of pace and bring additional capabilities to the Miovision.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about AWS is that we allow you and we help you to scale, to build faster, more reliable, more secure on the AWS cloud. That helps you connect with your customers. And so I'm part of their AWS GovTech organization, and these government technology companies are helping companies like yourselves create secure and effective applications to better the lives of state and local government citizens. And that's what we're trying to help you do. And so
Nice.
as we help you to accelerate, to grow, to move faster, to build fast, that's our opportunity to help you to be thought leaders in your industry. We have the right business and technical resources, and also the vertical resources that are specific to the areas that you support, where we can help you and grow and be real partners and strategize together, be it on go-to-market, be it on ideation. We have a lot of opportunity to grow together.
And I think, Mike, that's something people wouldn't always recognize. Is I think we have a whole line of operational business around how we compute, how we use the infrastructure, but it's also on the strategic front, right? We spend a lot of time ideating, thinking about how we have a shared future together with AWS as part of the Miovision team as well.
Yeah, maybe we may have glanced over it, but maybe share, in your purview, you've seen kind of this GovTech environment. I think you even share we might not fit naturally into that kind of definition of a GovTech SaaS/hardware.
But I think you're becoming that way. I think we're making the changes and we're doing it, right?
Yeah.
I think the investments that you have made and where you play in the smart cities and transportation vertical, I think you for sure are a GovTech today. And where you're going and how do we just connect, not just traffic, right? How do we go and really have the Miovision vision, right? Of how do we connect cities in general? I think that's where we're moving.
So new to transport, new to transit, kind of new to at least the Miovision story as well as seeing it. Like, what were some of the things that you picked up, even in today or since meeting our group, that you're like, this is something different about even your own life when you're on the road, sitting at an intersection that could be profoundly different for the communities that we serve and that we want to make an impact on?
Yeah, I think really understanding how how it's all interconnected, right? What you're doing with GTT, for example, the acquisition that was recently made, with prioritizing safety. What's the focus and the emphasis that you're doing on helping make our communities a safer place, a better place? I think that is obviously that's one of the most important things as a citizen, right? Is that I want to make sure that I feel safe in my community. And what we're doing with traffic and traffic management, but also prioritization of police and emergency vehicles and fire. I think that's extremely important for us as we are moving forward and a connected society.
Brilliant.
And I'd say maybe flipping it over, we spent a bunch of time showing you today's world. We did a bit of dreaming on the possibility of the future. Maybe what are a couple things that you saw today as we were ideating that are exciting about where you see Miovision going, or some of the art of the possible, if you would?
Yeah, so I think as we look forward to what's next, it's interesting, you see the hardware that is sitting at every single intersection everywhere. Where can we simplify that, and how do we simplify moving forward together, and where can we find opportunities to innovate? I think those are the things that I'm most excited for, is that if you look at it, there's so many different areas in smart cities in general, and how we're moving and growing towards being an interconnected society. There's opportunities for us to be better together. I think that's a word we like to use at AWS, a phrase, and how do we be better together?
Love it. So we may have buried the lead as well.
Yeah.
We brought a ringer on. Tell the audience what you do, not your whole focus outside of work, but one of the kind of interesting things. We brought a ringer on. We kind of exposed ourselves, a little bit of vulnerability here.
I don't know. I think you guys killed it, right? So, my whole life, family with my kids and my wife in Austin, Texas. But I also have been, as a hobby, I don't do this professionally, for the last, maybe 10 years, I've hosted a radio show on our local Austin sports network.
Awesome.
About on the Horn on UFC and MMA. And so I'm a credentialed media member for the UFC. I've interviewed, Canadian legend George St. Pierre.
Yes. GSP.
GSP, of course. But Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey, Dana. Kind of the who's who of fighting. So.
Very cool. Well, I'm not going to ask you for like a 10 to 1 grading score on how we did today, but you can kind of maybe put that in the comment cards after the fact.
It'll be in the metric system, so I don't know exactly how it works here. So
probably a number less than 7 or something like that.
Any last things you're going to do? You and team are heading out tomorrow. What's on the checklist?
We're discovering Waterloo, right? We're discovering. I love Canada. I've spent quite a bit of time here. I think different roles at different companies and give you opportunities to explore different areas. And there was a time in my life I was coming here, once or twice a quarter. And I've had a chance to go to Vancouver. My wife and I, we went to Stampede. I love Montreal. I love Toronto. Canada's a wonderful place.
Brilliant. I certainly want to say, like Jordan, on behalf of the Miovision team, thank you for the partnership.
Yeah, of course.
It's been long. We talked about 18 years. We were here from the dial-in days of AWS. So thank you for being here. We love the AWS team and really enjoyed having you on the podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that was awesome. What a great time to spend with you. Any last thoughts or words before we kind of wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I'm excited, right? I think, like I mentioned before, we are better together, right? We're going to help you build better, faster, more reliable solutions on AWS. And I'm excited to see where the partnership goes. And I'm looking forward. We're going to see you guys at the AWS Public Sector Summit just in a few weeks in DC, right?
Yeah, love it. Yeah, and I think our group's excited to get in there and learn from you and maybe pick up some certification and some support from some of the best practices that are happening across the public sector. So without further ado, as they say, thanks for being on the podcast, Jordan. Thanks for coming all the way up here to Canada. Sorry about the bulk barn letdown.
Yeah, I know.
We'll get it back to you. We'll go on the hunt for those Allen's candies.
Sour grapefruit.
Sour grapefruit.
It's sour grapefruit. It's the best.
Google it. I might go to the Amazon store.
It's not there. Okay. I know. Trust me. I've looked.
You would know.
And with that, folks, thanks for tuning in to the Intersection podcast. Thank you to Matt Fisher, our Vice President of Operations, Jordan Walburger, AWS Senior Lead, supporting our Miovision account, and Mike Denick, your Vice President of Marketing. Bye for now.